Right. Hello, everyone. So today I want to talk about dispensing practices, and I think it's worth understanding how the whole system actually works because when I first came across this, I found it a bit confusing. We all are used to writing prescriptions and patients going off to boots, but in some practices, particularly rural ones, the GP surgery usually dispenses the medication directly, and there's a whole set of rules and economics around why that happens and how it works. So let's start from the basics. You can't just decide to start dispensing tomorrow. There's this thing called the 1 mile rule, which basically says your patients need to live more than a mile. That's about 1.6 kilometers from their nearest community pharmacy. Now, why does this rule exist? Well, it's actually about protecting high street pharmacies. We don't want GP practices undercutting pharmacies in town centers where there's already good access. The rule exists to fill in a genuine gap in service, not to create competition. And it's not just about having few patients who live far away. You need enough patients within this dispensing boundary to make the whole thing viable. So NHS England actually defines where your boundary is. So if, for example, Tesco opens a pharmacy nearby, your boundary might shrink, and that's to say it's not set in stone. All of this is written in Schedule 7 of the GMS contract. Now, I know contract documents aren't exactly exciting reading, but the key point is if you're going to dispense, you have to meet the same standards as a proper pharmacy. You have to provide the same quality, work under the same regulations, and provide the same high level of service as you would anywhere else. So you might think, why would you want to do this and why would you want to take this on as a practice? Because it sounds like a lot of hassle. Well, there is actually several reasons why practices do this. So first of all, there is practical reality that dispensing can help support the financial sustainability of rural practice. So the NHS has something called the drug tariff. Think of it like the official price list. It says what the NHS will pay for each medication. Now, practices buy these drugs from wholesalers and negotiate prices with them. Usually, you can buy drugs for less than what the drug tariff says. That difference between purchasing cost and reimbursement contributes to covering the costs of running the dispensary. On top of that, there's a dispensing fee for each item dispensed. Currently, it's about £1.27 per item, though that changes periodically. This helps cover various overheads, including providing this service. For practices in areas where patient numbers are naturally smaller, this can generally help maintain viability. What it means for patients is that basically, when, for example, Mrs. Jones, a 70-year-old who doesn't drive and the nearest pharmacy to her is about 5 miles away, she comes in for her blood pressure check, you adjust her ramipril, and she walks out with the medication there and then. No second journey, no relying on family to drive her around. You've got the complete picture from medication journey, from the prescription collection, and hopefully to them taking it properly. There are clinical benefits. Clinically, there's a real advantage here to have everything under one roof. Day to day, it also means fewer interruptions. And if you've prescribed medication before, you know how pharmacists can call to query some things. So, ask questions like, did you really mean 40 milligrams or did you mean 4 milligrams? That happens less when it's all in-house. So now I should say it's not all straightforward. You've got additional regulatory requirements. You need specialist staff, you need proper premises, stock management, IT systems. These are capital investments that are involved. So you really need to think about it carefully, whether it will make sense for your area, for your practice. So how does the system actually work? Because this is where it gets interesting. Every month, the NHS publishes the drug tariff. This is basically a big list that says this medication is worth this much. The prices of the drug tariff are meant to reflect market prices, but they don't always keep up with the reality. Sometimes they lag behind. Meanwhile, practices buy drugs from wholesalers, and like any business buying in bulk, you negotiate prices. Most of the time, you can buy below drug tariff price. That gap between purchasing cost and reimbursement helps cover the operational cost of dispensing. Then, on top of the drug reimbursement, there's a dispensing fee. This is meant to help cover overheads like staff wages, premises, systems, all the running costs of actually operating the dispensary. Of course, not every drug works out the same way. Some have higher margins, some have smaller ones, some are barely breaking even. In essence, it averages out across your whole dispensing volume. There are other elements too. So private prescriptions, for instance, vaccines or cosmetic treatments or things NHS does not cover, those work differently. Then there are medical appliances, dispense dressings, stoma supplies, catheters. These come under a different part of the drug tariff called the Part 9 instead of the Part 8. But the principle is similar. You purchase them, you dispense them, then get reimbursed. Why volume matters? So the crucial thing here is to understand that it is very much a volume-based system. The margins on individual items might be quite modest, but when you're dispensing thousands of items every month, it adds up to something that can help support the practice's sustainability. And rural practices with what we call captive populations, patients who really don't have another option, tend to have a consistent volume. Right, now I want to show you something really useful. There's a website called Open Prescribing. It's run by folks at Oxford University, completely free to use, and it's brilliant for understanding your prescribing patterns. What it does is takes all the prescribing data from England and lets you analyze it. You can see what your practice is prescribing, compare it to others, spot where you're using expensive drugs when cheaper alternatives exist. For dispensing practices, this is particularly valuable because if you can identify opportunities to switch to more cost-effective alternatives, that's better for the NHS overall, and it can also affect how the dispensary operates. You just go to the openprescribing.net website and then put in your practice code, and you can see all your data laid out. One of the useful features is the savings section. It shows you where there's big variation in cost across different practices, and it estimates how much could be saved if everyone prescribed as efficiently as the best 10% of practices. Now, some of this is about drug choice, using cheaper generic versions instead of expensive brands. Some of it is about quantity. Some of it is about formulary choices that your local area has made. But for dispensing practices, the drug choice element is particularly relevant because it directly affects the whole supply chain. Before we look at an example, just a quick word about units. When we talk about units in drug tariff, we mean the smallest dispensable quantity. For patches, 1 unit is 1 patch. For tablets, 1 unit is 1 tablet. For liquids, usually 1 unit is 1 ml. For inhalers, 1 unit is 1 device. So if you prescribe 28 buprenorphine patches, that's 28 units, even though they might come in boxes of 4. This matters when you're working out costs and reimbursement. Let me walk you through a real example because I think this really shows how the system works. We'll use the buprenorphine patches. So let's say a practice is currently dispensing 148 buprenorphine 5 microgram patches per month. They come in packs of 4, so that's 37 packs being dispensed. Now, the drug tariff price for generic buprenorphine patch is 17.60. Now, Open Prescribing might show you that there's a different option available at a lower price point, but it's only 133 per patch instead of 4.40 per patch. So for a pack of 4, that's 532 instead of 1760. If the practice switches to this option, the monthly purchasing cost drops to 37 packs times 5.32, which is about 196.84. Quite a significant change in purchasing cost. Now, let's look at this from the NHS point of view, because this is what Open Prescribing is calculating when it shows potential savings. So currently, those 148 patches are costing the NHS 4.18 per patch based on reimbursement calculation. So 148 times 4.18 is 618.64. If practices switch to the more cost-effective version at 133 per patch, that's 148 times 133, which is 196.84. NHS savings 421.80 per month. Over a year, that's over £5,000 just from one practice switching one drug. So from the NHS perspective, this is clearly beneficial. It's about making sure the NHS resources are used as effectively as possible. What this means for a practice, from a dispensing practices perspective, the timing matters. If the drug tariff has already adjusted, you're still providing the service but at a new price structure. The key is staying informed about market changes, using tools like Open Prescribing, keeping in touch with your wholesalers, paying attention to what's happening with drug pricing. Here's what I think is worth taking away from all of this. Dispensing practices exist because there's a genuine need in rural and remote areas. The 1 mile rule ensures we're not competing with community pharmacies, we are filling gaps in service delivery. The way it works is based on the drug tariff system. Practices purchase from wholesalers, get reimbursed at tariff rates, and the difference, along with the dispensing fees, help cover operational costs. But there are real costs involved: regulatory requirements, staff premises, insurance, stock management, etc. The economics vary considerably from drug to drug and change over time as market prices shift and the drug tariff adjusts. Some periods, you see better margins. Other times, things are tighter. It averages out, but only if it's managed properly. Prices need to stay informed about it all. Use tools like Open Prescribing to understand where there might be opportunities, keep up with market prices, build good relationship with wholesalers, manage stock carefully to minimize wastage, make sure you're meeting all the regulatory requirements. But fundamentally, It's about balancing two things. On one hand, practices need to be sustainable to continue serving their communities. On the other hand, they are part of the NHS, and that means being responsible about resources and making clinically appropriate choices. When it works well, dispensing benefits everyone. Patients get convenient access to medicines. The practice can remain viable in an area where that might otherwise be challenging. The NHS gets proper pharmaceutical care in areas where it would otherwise be difficult to provide. So if you're thinking about working in dispensing practice, or maybe even considering whether it's right for your practice, hopefully this gives you a realistic sense of how it all works. That's everything I wanted to say about this subject. If you have any questions, stick them in the comment section. I'll try and answer. I hope this has been helpful. If it's helpful, give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.